This is Maestro, here with a break from your regular Faction War programming to bring you a 3v3 on Khatrin Purification plan. We're going to start out with Afan playing as the Tyrannid Lictor Alpha. This is an infiltrating melee assassin commander with high melee damage. Next up, it'll be Gaius Baltar. I love Battlestar Galactica. He will be playing as the Chaos Lord, the traditional tanky melee hero who walks through cover and cannot be suppressed. Next up, it'll be ... yet another one of those tanky melee heroes who can walk through cover and not be suppressed. Can also use We Are the Hammer, improve his defense as well as his speed. Next up, on the other team, we're going to start off with Tiberos, playing as the Force Commander. Tanky melee hero, can be knocked down, can be suppressed, can buff with Battle Cry and disrupt with Battle Cry. Next up, it'll be Sparkles, playing as the Farseer. This is a melee support commander, area of effect, not area of effect actually, buffing spells, debuffing spells, control spells. Finally, it's going to be Yipyip. Yipyip is playing as the Apothecary. This is a Space Marine hero who has the ability to heal. So this is a replay submission, kind of in the middle of all of the faction wars that I've been bringing you. I do feel a little bit bad. I've actually got a lot of replay submissions, but the nature of my content has actually changed quite a bit since returning to casting, where there are a lot of tournaments to cover, there are a lot of organized faction wars to cover. So a lot of my content these days focuses more on that. And if you look at my content from this year compared to previous ones, the nature of it is quite a bit different. Whereas, obviously, before it was mostly just focused on casual games played outside of a tournament setting, a lot of them just either found on game replays or through replay submissions such as this one. So this is a little bit of a return to that old style of content, which I don't want to completely eliminate from my channel, although I do prefer the priority overall on the organized faction wars as well as the tournaments. So then we've got some Strike Squad from ... moving forward. Looks like they've already forced off the Force Commander, while the Tactical Marines will find themselves backing up, trying to just tank that damage, just trying to do the soft pedal back rather than actually pressing the retreat button so they're not completely off the field here. But they are just starting to take some damage. I don't think they're really at a risk for losing a model yet, but I also don't think the Scouts really want to be a part of this. Okay, they're actually going to equip shotguns, use suppression. That actually might give the Scouts, the Tax rather, a little bit of an edge. But the Scouts themselves taking a little bit too much damage. Are they going to get out of there without losing a model? The Brother Captain swing does eventually finish off one of the models. Meanwhile, on this side, was missing a lot of things happening on this side of the map. We did see a Lictor Alpha, or perhaps we didn't see it. A Lictor Alpha did end up going down. Afan will move his Tyrannids over to the middle of the map, looking for an engage against Sparkles. He will manage to scare off the Howling Banshees. Farseer returns to the rest of her units, but the Dire Avengers are really just going to be backing up right here. Does look like we might have a regrouping and then a re-engage. Sparkle's a little bit undecisive, going in, going out. Does have some support here from Tiberos. But speaking of support, it's going to be Afan getting some support from the Chaos Lord of Gaius Baltar. Gaius Baltar going with choosing to focus on upgrading the Chaos Lord instead of getting another squad. Meanwhile, these are Gaius Baltar's Chaos Space Marines. They are massively outnumbered. They lose a model before they retreat. I think at this point, for Gaius Baltar, I really think it's worth it to just cut his losses, retreat, and so he doesn't bleed any more models. Already bled a Chaos Space Marine model. Going to use the Doom Blast just to slow down the Force Commander and the Farseer. Now the Chaos Lord is here kind of by himself. He's only got a little bit of support from two Inquisitorial Stormtroopers from ... But those look like they might be a little bit overwhelmed themselves, being chased after by two melee heroes. And although there are only certain heroes that I generally describe as tanky, in a way, pretty much all heroes have tanking responsibilities because as single entities, they are inherently tanky compared to most other units. Basically just that they have more health to work with, more health that they can more damage that they can take before it actually incurs an economic loss. Scouts, meanwhile, man, what do they do? Oh no, they get knocked down. That's super bad for them. I don't think the Chaos Lord has enough damage to finish them off. Chaos Lord himself needs to be careful. Meanwhile, the Assault Marines will be looking for some warrior models. It looks like they did tag one. They will also get Gaius Baltar's Chaos Lord in retreat. Meanwhile, it does look like, do we have an attempted revive here? Yeah, the Brother Captain from ... trying to do the revive there right under the noses of the entire Red Team army. It's not going to work out for them, though. And overall, it is our Red Team looking a little bit better in this early game. Red team do have a victory point lead, but now it's a double cap against them. Does look like while the blue team is choosing to engage, or rather the red team choosing to engage on our red team right here, blue team did actually get a cap on the contested victory point. They're basically fighting away from this contested victory point. Not a whole lot is happening here. Most of the fighting is happening at this part of the map. I guess at some point, the red team, if they want, they could make a push for the natural victory point of the blue team. Typically, though, of course, natural victory points are going to be a little bit difficult to hold. Usually you'll rely on that more in emergency situations. Forest Commander is here, still chasing. I guess he can just buy a little bit of time. Did actually get a Stormtrooper model as well. I mean, just given how squishy those Stormtrooper models are, the Forest Commander can reasonably expect to get a model or two in the time that it takes to actually focus him down. Although it looks like the micro has been dropped on him a little as he's no longer targeting the Stormtroopers, instead going after the Strike Squad, or perhaps just attacking the Strike Squad once they attack him. But a lot harder to bleed the models off that Strike Squad compared to the Stormtroopers. Of course, it's a bigger reward as those Strike Squad models are quite a bit more expensive, but just a lot harder to actually achieve it. Strike Squad, meanwhile, also chasing after this Tactical Marine Squad. Finally, they do retreat. There are a lot of times when I do see some of these players trying to back up, trying to resist the urge to just hit the X button. And there definitely are reasons why you do want to sometimes resist the urge to retreat just to save your units. At the same time, though, I think there are times when we see that maybe going a little bit too far and they are just unnecessarily taking damage in situations where retreating actually is the right idea. Meanwhile, Hormgun's potentially going to get caught. Going through in between those pipes does take a little bit of damage, and I think lost one model. Yes, they lost one model from the combination of those tacks and those shotgun scouts. Of course, those Hormiguns, they are a melee unit that does need to get up close, just by definition of being a melee unit, but they are not very tanky, so if they are exposed to unnecessary range fire, it will significantly and very quickly reduce the effectiveness of that squad. So generators being bashed as well as power being captured. I think it's kind of being blob capped here by the combination of the Lictor Alpha as well as the Chaos Lord. Meanwhile, over here, we're going to have another engagement between our Ordo Malleus and our Space Marines. Ordo Malleus will be backing up, but we've got players in Tier 2. No major Tier 2 purchases yet. Maybe the Wraithguard are. We do have some Tier 2 purchase, but nothing that really seems particularly polarizing, aside from maybe this Wraithguard once they actually move up, if they can get anything done. It's going to be the Vindicare Assassin out of ... That is a sniper unit, also an AV unit. Doesn't strike me as the most impactful thing. I would expect either a Dreadnought or a Rhino to be a little bit more impactful than a Vindicare Assassin. Vindicare Assassin does strike me as a little bit more reactionary or preemptive against vehicles. As if your opponent does get vehicles, it will be pretty nice to have, but it's not something that I think will put a huge amount of threat on the existing army the way getting something like a Rhino or a Dreadnought would. Assault Marines jump in, but then they just instantly jump out. Unfortunately, not too much going to be achieved by those Assault Marines in that particular engagement, and this is looking like a winning engagement probably for the blue team here. I think that they've got a pretty clear numerical advantage. They'll even wipe the Howling Banshees from Sparkles. That's really, really rough for him. Still actually quite a few red team units here, though, and now the Wraithguard are coming up here to reinforce, so this might not be as clear-cut of an engagement as I originally thought. Farseer is in trouble, however, and I think if they turn on her, they could get rid of her. The Strike Squad do target her, I think, but no one else there. I think if all of these units here, the Brother Captain, the Chaos Lord, the Strike Squad, and the Plague Marines had all focused on the Farseer, they could have taken her out. In the end, it will overall be a one engagement for the red team. Sorry, for the blue team. But red team is looking for a re-engage here with some double plasma attacks. Double plasma attacks does make sense up against Ordo Malleus. Going to put a huge amount of pressure on the Strike Squad, as well as on the Purgation. I mean, all shotgun scouts trying to put a little bit of pressure on their own. They attempted a grenade, now they will just shoot at their shotguns. Purgation will completely ignore them and instead just go for the generator. They don't finish the generator, though, and retreat after losing a single model, because For the Emperor was actually put on this scout squad. So it's a victory point lead for our red team, but I think the blue team will start making waves into... I think they'll... I mean, they've got a much bigger army at the moment. I think they should be able to convert that into map control, barring any serious misplays. Plague Marines right here are in a bit of trouble, though. They are, of course, quite tanky, but they're already down to less than half of their health. They haven't had a model loss just yet. Wow, they still haven't had a model loss just yet, at only a quarter of their health now. I mean, we're also going to have double Zinch... No, sorry. We're going to have single Zinch Chaos Space Marine right here. Zinch Chaos Space Marine losing a model and getting suppressed right there, as they took a shot from the Wraith Guard, but the Wraith Guard will themselves be quickly forced off the field after being engaged in melee. Chaos Lord looking for more engagements in melee, and of course so are the Raptors, and that will be yet another retreat from the red team. Force Commander, no, that's not the Force Commander, that is the Apothecary. A little bit misleading for me. The skin didn't look as much like an Apothecary, but then I saw the Power Axe and realized that that was the Apothecary. Tactical Marines getting in really close, really trying to do the Emperor proud. But they will have to retreat in the end, getting massively overwhelmed. Meanwhile, now we've got a Dreadnought. This one will be from Tiberos. So far, it's just a melee Dreadnought. Of course, especially in a team game, it's reasonably likely that we could see an Assault Cannon Dreadnought. Particularly in team games, I think that's probably the most common variety because of the persistent range damage that you get on such a tanky platform. But the melee Dreadnought can still definitely have its uses, especially if you are staring down some rather threatening melee. Conversion Beamer is set up, but it doesn't have a firing arc on the Dreadnought. It doesn't even have line of sight. Dreadnought is moving up. It's completely unsupported here, but it's also... actually, this is getting a little bit questionable for this Dreadnought. 2 sources of AV, looking to kite it. Eventually, they'll move back into base. Vindicare Assassin, though, really can't afford to take too many hits from the Dreadnought, but the Conversion Beamer now has it targeted. Unfortunately, in the end, this is probably going to be a dead Dreadnought. Conversion Beamer has it targeted and snared, and this massive flank, this movement by Afan, not even necessary. I actually don't like that movement by Afan coming over here just to help with this Dreadnought, when the Dreadnought is clearly dead no matter what. The best the Dreadnought can possibly do is kill the Vindicare Assassin, but I don't even think that's going to happen, and it won't. So unfortunately, that Dreadnought, that one not quite doing the Emperor proud, I think. I mean, certainly he died, but he didn't get a whole lot done with his life, or at least his second life. Fully kitted out Apothecary, though, from Yip-Yip. He's got the Anointed Power Axe, he's got the Armor of Purity, as well as the Purification Rites. So this is definitely a melee-heavy build. He's looking to get in close, looking to get extra energy from the Anointed Power Axe, and then also use the cooldown reduction on the heal from the Armor of Purity to have more heals up online. It's about as tanky as you can get with your Apothecary. Meanwhile, speaking of the Apothecary, he's actually going to town against this Chaos Lord, and he will finish off the Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord really needed to respect the Apothecary there. Although the Apothecary is not generally known for his damage, this is a fully upgraded Apothecary, and I'm pretty sure Gaius Baltar only has the Combi Flamer on his Chaos Lord, which is primarily a ranged weapon. Well, in fact, the Combi Flamer itself is literally a ranged weapon, and it doesn't actually change the Chaos Lord's melee DPS at all. Oh my god! These Assault Marines just being swarmed. Raptors looking to find it in retreat. They will finish it off, and that will be the end of that squad of Assault Marines right there. Was that a double sync kill? That looked a little bit strange. It almost looked like they were both beating up on that last Assault Marine model at the same time. That's probably not actually what it is, but it just kind of looks like that. Shotgun Scouts right here capturing this requisition point. No, that's a power point. While the Strike Squad firing at them in range, but the Strike Squad only have 2 of their models. Soon going to be dealing with 2 squads, or rather, sorry, 1 squad of Scouts. This one here is actually getting really, really close to dying. This squad of Scouts, though, with 4 shotguns, 3 after one of the models was killed. However, there were some reinforcements from the Ordo Malleus, especially since ... actually has quite a big army. Even has some Brainite Terminators at this time, so we've got players in Tier 3, and it's ... as well as Sparkles, who do have the first Tier 3 units out on the field. Seer Council out for Sparkles. A good answer to really any kind of heavy infantry armor. And not just that. Meanwhile, oh no. The Wraith Guard are very, very overwhelmed here. They do retreat, and luckily for them, they are really tanky. I don't know if I see this really being a winning engagement here for the red team, but there might be a flanking Howling Banshee squad that might get some work done. They're still a little outnumbered. Heretics will come. There's some disruption. And now it's actually the Farseer. The Farseer as well as the Seer Council really going to work. All right, at this point, blue team has kind of been routed, and it will be the blue team in full retreat here. All right, meanwhile, up here are those Grey Knight Terminators. No upgrades yet. Force Commander is here by himself. He will definitely get overwhelmed. And although he can use Battlecry on the regular infantry, these Terminators do not care about that, and they will slice him up quite quickly if he stays in here. I think, I think just a little miss micro there. He loses the Force Commander. There will be some support, though. Sparkles coming in, really now starting to show the value of the Seer Council. And as good as they might be against super heavy infantry armor, they're really going to get overwhelmed there by the combination of the Paladins and the Terminators. So this is a Farseer. Okay, I was going to check to see what her upgrades were. Spirit Stones, I think, were a foregone conclusion at this point if you are really committing to that Seer Council build, especially considering we often see the Farseer fighting alongside the Seer Council. Rune armor for the Psychic Storm. I would almost, I mean, definitely the control is very strong, but I was wondering if there was maybe an argument there for the Armor of Fortune there to give the Seer Council a little bit more damage resistance. Armor of Fortune might be better for dealing with the Terminators as well as the Paladins, but I do see why he would want the Rune armor there for dealing with things that aren't Paladins or Terminators. Plasma Cannon Shot goes in, only hits the Chaos Lord, who actually takes pretty minimal damage. He can afford to tank that. Meanwhile, the Raptors will jump in. That'll be enough to force the Devastators into a retreat. And that Devastator squad not achieving too much there. Gaius Baltar turns to the right, finds a new army to engage on. Raptors are still here. They will tie up the Wraith Guard, but they will also get tied up themselves by the Howling Banshees as well as the Seer Council, and that's not a fight that they want. Armor of the Inferno has now been picked up by the Chaos Lord. We've seen a few casts of Let the Galaxy Burn. I don't think the value was particularly huge. Oh no, the Farseer, though, does get pulled in by the Flesh Hook of the Lictor Alpha, and that'll be one dead Farseer. I think that was even a sync kill, but hard to tell just within the mishmash of all those units in that one particular spot. Meanwhile, we've got some more Tier 3 units coming out on the field. Land Raider Redeemer out here for yipyip. Moving up. And, I mean, it's got Frag Assault ready. Can definitely really punish. It should have Frag Assault ready. Yes, it does. And it does punish those warriors pretty hard there. I think they'll be extremely lucky if they get out of there. Okay, luckily they're so tanky that even when it looks like they only have a sliver of health, they actually still have a nice 40-ish, which does save them from the burst of that Assault Cannon on top of the Land Raider Redeemer. Terminators will now come in as well, ranged Terminators as they are from yipyip, but they are themselves a little bit overwhelmed. Don't want to be fighting the Lictor Alpha as well as the Swarm Lord and the Predator tank all by themselves, not to mention the Venom Brood as well as the Hormagaunts there as well. On this side of the map, though, actually really feels like Tiberos is having a really tough time of it. And I think part of this is kind of what happens when you only buy 3 units and then fast tech to Tier 3 and wait for a Land Raider. You're not going to have much of an army to fight with. I'm not even sure if the Land Raider itself is really enough. I feel like, oh, but if he gets some support here from Sparkles, this could do a lot to punish. Howling Banshees are already pretty low, so they will have to retreat out pretty soon. The Paladin's still in here doing a lot of work, and the Paladins, of course, they can do a lot of work on the Land Raider Redeemer. But since we do have Paladins already about half health, is trying to get them out of there. Speaking of the Land Raider Crusader, which I almost wanted to say twice. We do actually see that building for ... So he'll have a Land Raider of his own. And then they can just stare at each other down while they don't actually do much damage to each other, since the anti-vehicle damage isn't actually that great. Meanwhile, a few Synops bombs go off. Unfortunately for Afan, I don't know if he's paying attention to his Warrior Brood. Oh my god, he does actually get a reinforcement there. And they will actually be just fine. I was worried for him a lot right there. Doesn't look like he's paying attention to the Venom, to the Lictor Alpha, however. Lictor Alpha will go down. Oh no, the Warriors there. Actually, Warriors, I don't know. Last time I thought they might go down. This one's looking a little bit closer, down to 12 hit points this time. Apothecary still kind of chasing after them, but he is himself in a little bit overwhelmed. Meanwhile, over here, we're seeing the Swarm Lord trying to chase after the Land Raider Redeemer. Yes, this is the Redeemer, not the Crusader, not the Phobos. And it's doing a decent job of it. Eventually, the Swarm Lord does give up the chase there. Doesn't want to overextend too much, even though, truth is, there isn't a huge amount of threat on it, especially if it just runs away from the Terminators. Swarm Lord actually does have pretty decent speed. I forget the exact value, but I believe it is higher than standard. Standard speed, I believe, is 5 for most units in this game. Dreadnought's typically a little bit slower at, I believe, 4.5. Eldar units usually a little bit faster at 5.5. And then tanks and transports usually range between 6 and 8. So, of course, those are the values, the kind of the speed values in the game. All right, then Ripper's moving up. It's interesting to see the Rippers leading the charge right there. Wouldn't normally think of these as the tankiest of units, but they're also quite expendable, these Rippers. So Afan was looking for a push there, but eventually he moves back. What's going on with Gaius Baltar? He has such a thin army. I feel like he's had the single Chaos Space Marines, the single Heretic, the single Raptor for a really, really long time. I don't remember if maybe he lost a different unit at some point. Where this strike squad, at this point I feel like this has to be like an intentional suicide on the squad. ... must just be looking to make room in his army for a different unit entirely, something that will, in the late game, have a little bit more impact than a strike squad. Because otherwise it would be a very flagrant death. And that's my best guess, especially considering he's looking like he's going to have the resources to get a new unit soon, especially like a nice tier 3 unit. Actually, what can he get? What can he even get that's left? We'll see. We'll see soon enough. All right, does look like we'll have a big engage going on right here. What is coming down? Are those more Terminators? They will, and they will be of the assault variety, possibly focusing on the Swarm Lord. They can certainly do some pretty good damage to him, put a lot more pressure on that Swarm Lord than those ranged Terminators by themselves will. The combination of both of them doing it, as well as the pressure that they can have against the infantry. Ranged Terminators, I think, at this point want to focus more on the Termagants, so they will bleed quite quickly. Meanwhile, over here, Avatar is in a huge amount of trouble, being chased after by Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, as well as a Khorne Predator. That is one dead Avatar. Chaos Lord, meanwhile, gets knocked back by the Avatar Death Explosion. Doesn't actually really do damage, but I think this is certainly, at least for these Tactical Marines, they've got to go. They're outnumbered. Oh, but Force Commander will find another model kill on the Raptors. He's going to try to finish off the squad. No, he's going for Flesh over Steel. Can he get the hit? He finishes off the Raptors with his Power Fist. Of course, the way the Power Fist works on the Force Commander, the DPS is 85 heavy melee DPS, which is certainly good. There are heroes in the game that have even higher DPS than that. But part of what's so good about this is that the Power Fist has a very, very low, it wouldn't be quite an accurate term, but rate of fire, so to speak. Basically means that he attacks very, very slowly with it. But, of course, the upside to that is that every single hit is very, very powerful. So it's huge burst damage. And there are times when you can see him winding up for a hit. There's a decent chance that it will mean a dead model on a squad. Plasma Cannon Devastator, will it finish off the Predator? It will. Meanwhile, Assault Cannon will be purchased for the Terminators out of yipyip. That Assault Cannon roughly doubling the DPS of the lead model. Slightly less than double, technically, but we also see that it does even do a little bit of suppression damage. And then, although, practically speaking, I think it's very, very rare to actually see infantry suppressed by the assault cannon alone. And I think oh no! Oh my god, that came so close to actually taking out the Vindicator Assassin. A big part of that is also that the assault cannon actually just does so much damage alongside the 2 storm bolters of the rest of the squad that if you're shooting at infantry with the assault cannon, chances are you're going to kill it before you're actually going to suppress it. Or at the very least, force out the retreat. And then another thing about the assault cannon does say targets effective against all targets from long range. So I'm pretty sure it does have longer range than the combi bolters for the rest of the squad. Only problem, though, is to really get the full DPS value out of the Terminator squad, you do want all 3 members to be in range to shoot. Big plasma cannon shot does hit the Termagants, but they're just going to get reinforced from this Swarmlord. Swarmlord is moving in. Swarmlord will target the scouts. He's certainly not scared of the scouts. They can't shotgun blast and knock him back. Now he's going to be targeting the Land Raider Redeemer. But he will also be chased after by Terminators. Well, we do have a nuke on the Land Raider Crusader on this side. This Land Raider Crusader is now dead in the water, and if there's just more follow-up, it can finish it off. It's mostly the Wraith Guard who are responsible for that. Doesn't seem like they're really targeting it, or there might just be the Paladins in here giving them a hard time, but the Paladins, they're the ones who are really having a bad day. Oh, but Holocaust will be used, levitating the Seer Council as well as the Wraith Guard, disabling them from participating in that fight for the moment. And in the end, that's a nuke used on the Land Raider Crusader that doesn't actually secure a kill, which means it will just be repaired to full. And I mean, if you commit 500 red to killing a super unit vehicle and you don't do it, it's in many ways it can really be seen as a wasted nuke, unless you also got a bunch of infantry along with it. Meanwhile, Land Raider Redeemer is pushing forward from Tiberos, probably looking for an aggressive frag assault against all these heretics, and also seems to have trapped the Khorne Predator. All right, Khorne Predator will be able to drive out of there. Still haven't seen any frag assault. I would think if you're getting this close, that might be what you're looking for. Certainly a lot of juicy stormtroopers here to use it on, but won't be using it just yet. Meanwhile, over here, we've got some more Terminators. They are at about 2/3 of their health here, being shot at by Termagants, who won't do a lot of damage, but they can use crippling poison on them to kind of pin them in a bad situation. So we did have one Terminator squad with an assault cannon. We've got another one from yipyip. This one upgraded with the Cyclone missile launcher. So you don't quite get the raw sustained damage that you would get out of upgrading to an assault cannon. But the Cyclone missile launcher does give you a nice area of effect burst damage ability, which can also work well against vehicles. Force Commander retreating here. He'll retreat back to the Land Raider Redeemer. Unfortunately for him, okay, I think he just barely got inside. That was pretty lucky for him to just barely get back inside the Land Raider Redeemer before he was killed. Otherwise, it probably actually would not have been an easy revive. Chaos Predator from Gaius Baltar moving forward. He's got a second Predator out in the field, also upgrading this one to the Mark of Khorne, wanting that extra high anti-infantry damage coming from the damage increase on the bolters in addition to the cannon. All right, we actually have Seer Council shooting in range, just firing off their Psychic Blast from their hands, while the Apothecary actually just tanking some damage from the Chaos Space Marines. Silencer Purgation Squad will also be shooting at range, but eventually they will be targeted by a Psychic Storm. Farseer, however, steps up a little too far, going for that Psychic Storm, and she will be killed. So, new Predator. This one, it will be for Tiberos, and it's targeting the Predators on the side of Gaius Baltar. Gaius Baltar's Predators might be doing more damage, but they also have less health by committing to Mark of Khorne. And it's a big engagement right here. Here will be an Orbital. Orbital targeting the Space Marine army right here. Oh my god, it's actually caught so many units inside it. This is quite an Orbital. Oh no. And the Land Raider also is not moving at all. It won't be killed, but man, that hurt quite a bit. Land Raider's still in trouble as well. The Paladins are right here. They're just going to chase after it. They finish it. Paladins have also been upgraded with Liber Demonica. It does grant them the Holy Ground ability. Allows them to buff the speed of allied infantry units and the buff speed of enemy units in an area. I think we've seen that once or twice. It's different from Holocaust. Holocaust is for the Grey Knight Terminators, not the Paladins. Force Commander does not get out of there. He will be hit with a headshot from the Vindicare Assassin. Meanwhile, we are going to have some Assault Terminators moving up on this Land Raider Crusader. Cyclone Missile Launcher does go out on the Land Raider Crusader, and it's another Orbital. This one, though, what can it catch? It'll catch some Heretics right there, as well as an Eldritch. The Eldritch, I don't think the Eldritch has caught the Land Raider Crusader at all. Oh man, the Eldritch not catching the Land Raider at all. Like, that one's definitely a very clear waste of a nuke. Because that one, I mean, like, you only need one Eldritch Bolt to at least trigger the Haywire effect on the Land Raider Crusader. Here's another nuke. This one, I don't think actually achieving too much in terms of damage, but it does, well, it pulls in some Terminators, but Terminators very hardy. They can tank a lot of that damage. They also teleport out of there. It looks like they almost were pulled in again. One is pulled in again. I think that one might go down. He's still alive. Of course, he is very, very tough, and he's going to try to walk back, taking a lot of damage from this Chaos Predator right here. It does look like he received a heal, though, from the Apothecary. Meanwhile, on this side, we're seeing some Tactical Marines move around. Don't even have all of their models. What are they looking for? Are they looking for a requisition point? No. Oh, they're looking for the victory point. That's my best guess. We've got one moving towards the victory point, the one with more health, because they can tank more damage. They can, at the very least, get a decap, especially with the increased capping speed that Tactical Marines have. So there's the decap. Man, it really is quite fast. Now they're going for the full cap. No, they can't do that. Eventually, they do get suppressed, I think. I don't know if maybe I was a overcharged plasma. I think it might have even just been from the Hurricane Bolters of the Land Raider Crusader. Big fight going on right here, though. Carnifex does have a Venom Cannon, allowing it to do AV damage at ranged. The Assault Terminators from Tiberos, though, really chasing Tiberos, man. He's definitely taken some losses. Still has his double Tactical Marines, still has his Assault Terminators, but he doesn't have his Force Commander. He's only got 3 squads. Meanwhile, we've got 2 half-health Land Raiders lying around. As the Vindicare Assassin could actually be in a lot of trouble. If those Terminators all force melee'd on the Vindicare Assassin, they would be in a huge amount of trouble. Oh no, this is another wasted nuke, sadly. Orbital Bombardment, unfortunately, has no snaring or slowdown properties against vehicles, so if you are paying attention, you can just drive a vehicle away from an Orbital Bombardment and suffer no damage whatsoever. It's really just infantry who can actually get caught and then stuck inside the Orbital, who really have to worry about that. The Orbital can do a lot of damage to vehicles, but you need something else to actually hold the vehicle in place if you're dealing with someone who is paying attention and will move the vehicle out of the way. Haywire into Orbital actually could be a valid combination, or if you get powerful snares, like if you get multiple snares on a Land Raider, then you could realistically do it. Oh man, Bioplasma goes out from two Carnifexes, and both of them miss and don't hit anything. There is the Holy Ground out of the Paladins. They will move a little bit faster. Any units coming in here will move slower. Meanwhile, that is the levitation effect. That was coming out of the Grey Knight Terminator. Should have been the Holocaust from them, since I don't think there's any other source of levitation on that team. Not exactly that many sources of levitation in this game, though. I think it's just the Grey Knight Terminators, the Warp Spider Exarch, as well as the Farseer. Bioplasma goes out again. This one connects on the Terminators. They just kind of shrug it off because they're pretty tanky. But they don't want to just stand around taking damage without achieving too much. Ooh, we've got some new upgrades on this Apothecary. He now has the armor of the Apothecarian, but if he's got the armor of the Apothecarian, that means he's probably going to want to switch out the Purification rights for the advanced medical equipment to give him more energy to support this. But actually, it looks like he's doing just fine because he's level freaking 8. This is level 8. Level 8 Apothecary. He's got plenty of energy, actually. Maybe he doesn't even need all the energy from the advanced medical equipment. So, blue team will push in. They will, certainly at the moment... Oh, this Fire Prism is way too far forward. And it will be gone. Meanwhile, up here, Swarmlord's still pushing in. But so much healing coming out of this Apothecary with the armor of the Apothecarian. That advanced healing just grants so much sustained healing. So we see our Apothecary is level 8. How about our other commanders? Level 8 Farseer, fully upgraded. We've seen her upgrades before. Level 8 Force Commander. We've seen some of these. Certainly the Power Fist, Artificer Armor, Teleporter Pack. Lictor Alpha is dead. Chaos Lord, man, you know what? There's so many other things going on. Cyclone Missile Launcher will actually succeed in finishing off one of those Chaos Predators from Gaius Baltar. It is a double cap for the blue team at the moment, though. Another Holy Ground is laid on the ground, as we're going to see Paladins chasing after the Space Marine Terminators. 2 of those Terminator models will be killed, but they do stop short of going after the Land Raider as well as the Predator, deciding that perhaps they've got what they need in terms of having this victory point, so they will just move off the field. So we did see Gaius Baltar here, Lightning Claws, Armor of the Inferno, and Demonic Visage. And then finally, it's the Brother Captain, only with the Nemesis Demon Hound. Excuse me. So a rather unexpected and probably brief moment of calm. Where's this Force Commander going? Is he just trying to take out that Vindicare Assassin? Oh, man. Force Commander is lucky to not lose his life for that bold play. Vindicare Assassin here at level 4 and with extended operations actually does have a decent amount of health. The problem with the Vindicare Assassin is that he is, at least to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure, the squishiest single entity unit in the entire game. So he can be very risky. You got to be very, very careful with him to ensure that he does not die. Now, of course, part of the reason he is so squishy is that he is a sniper unit, which means that he is meant to be kept very far back, meant to be kept in positions where he isn't at much risk. And if you can do that, then I suppose you can get him to level 4 and give him a lot more health. All right, we've got a little bit of a standoff. Of course, blue team does control the victory points, so they don't have to make a move. It's entirely up to the red team to make a move, and this isn't it. Unfortunately, this should be the end of these Dire Avengers. Like, that absolutely had to happen. That was rather unfortunate to see. All right, red team got to make a play. Here is the start of it. We're going to have Terminators being put on the victory point. They're actually taking so much damage, already down to half their hit points. But of course, they're doing it because there's just not a whole lot of time left. They've probably lost a model by this point. No, they haven't. They still haven't lost a model. Some of them are getting pushed around by the Imperial Abyss. Another Holy Ground laid out by the Paladins. As we're going to see the Paladins and the Terminators approach the Wraith Guard. They will be in melee there. Brother Captain, well, I don't even know why they're leaving. I really don't feel that they have to. I feel like they have the advantage there, and they should just press it. I really don't see why they backed off. Those Paladins and those Terminators very much would have had an advantage against the Wraith Guard. Would have forced like more of a staggered approach by the red team. The red team needs to move again, and once again they're in a position where it's on them to make a move. Terminators for Tiberos are not present on the map, which means they must be inside the Land Raider Redeemer, even though it's not even his own Land Raider Redeemer. Red team, we got to do something. Unfortunately, yipyip not feeling too happy about this. I don't know if maybe they've just given up at this point. They're getting very, very close to the point of no return. Like, they need to put a unit on the victory point in seconds, or it's just straight up over. I think we're actually just about at the point of no return. Maybe a teleport in with the Terminators on the victory point and capping it. Nope. Turns out it's not going to happen. So a little bit of an anticlimactic ending, but certainly get a nice picture right here of all this as it happens. So I do appreciate whoever threw down that last orbital bombardment just to give us a nice picture. All right, then. I do hope you enjoyed it. Certainly, once Faction War season is over, I will try to get around to honoring more of these replay submissions. Well, aside from that, have a good night.